Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our first meeting in intermediate listening class. Today's we are going to discuss the most fundamental theory that we have to comprehend in my class. It is about defining listening. Okay, but before that, I want to warn you that if you listen something seperti suara motor and then suara whatever it is, I'm sorry with that because here the situation is a bit crowded, so just focus on my voice. Okay, well, let's discuss our main topic. What is actually listening? Listening is mendengarkan. Yes, we know that, but what is it? We actually can define listening from several perspectives. The first one is from the perspective of receptive skill. This is actually the most common definitions of listening. Listening is one of the receptive skill beside reading. I believe you already know about that. But actually, we can define listening from the other perspective, such as the constructive skill, and then it is also as the collaborative skill, and lastly, listening can be called as transformative skill. Let's break down these four perspectives one by one. The first one is listening as receptive skill. Okay, what do you understand about this? What we mean about listening as receptive skill is that listening means receiving what the speaker actually says. In the other word, listening means catching what the speaker said. Furthermore, listening also is about getting the speaker's idea, decoding the speaker's message. So that's what listening means as the receptive skill. We also can say listening as the receptive skill because listening is one of skill that harvests what is in the speaker's mind. So that's what we mean about receptive. In summary, listening is about receiving the transfer of image, impressions, thoughts, belief, attitudes, and emotion from the speaker. That's receptive skill. The next one is listening as the constructive skill. Okay, so it's a bit different from the previous one. What we mean about listening as constructive skill is listening means constructing and also representing meaning. It means listening is about finding something interesting in what the speaker is saying. What we mean about something interesting in this case is that we are trying to finding out what is relevant for you, what is relevant for us as the listener. So listening as constructive skill is that when we listen, we try to find what is relevant for us as the listener. In the other word, listening means understanding why the speaker is talking to you. So that's what we mean about listening as constructive skill. And the third perspective is listening as collaborative skills. Listening as a collaborative skill means negotiating meaning with the speaker and responding. So, from this perspective, listening activity doesn't stop only until listening, but listening activity will also cover the response after we listen. So that's what collaborative skill means in the perspective of listening. Furthermore, in this perspective, listening means responding to what the speaker has said, just like what I said before. And listening also is the process of negotiating shared information or values with the speaker. Listening also means acting interested while the speaker is talking. So one of the, what is it, the sign that we are actually listening to someone is we show that we are interested in the topic that the speaker are saying. So that's what the collaborative skill is all about. And then in addition, listening as collaborative skill means signaling to the speaker which ideas are clear and acceptable to you. So listening is not only listen and without doing anything, but as the listener, when we listens to someone speaking, we have to show response, and then the response can cover several aspects. Namely, we can show our agreement about what the speaker said, and also disagreement. Or maybe if the speaker says something which is not clear, we give the response. We give the information to the speaker that it is not clear. So that's listening as collaborative skill. So what we have to underline in this point is that listening is about listen and respond. That's it. Okay, and the last is listening as transformative transformative skill. What we mean about listening as transformative skill is that listening means creating meaning through involvement, imaginations, and also empathy. In a simple word, we can say that listening is being involved with the speaker without judgment and showing empathy with the speaker. So this is actually a bit similar with what I have presented before about listening as collaborative skill. When we listen to someone speaking, we have to show that we are actually engaged with the conversation by doing several things like nodding your head or giving some response such as are you sure, is that true, yes, 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 I also agree with that, something like that. The thing is you have to show your empathy to the speaker, that you engage in the conversations. So that's what we mean about transformative. In summary, listening is about the intention to complete the communication process. So we have to underline the keyword here, communication process. Communications is about two directions of conversations. There is someone speaking and there is someone listening who give response. So that's what we have to underline about listening as transformative skill. Okay, to boost your understanding about the definitions of listening, we have also to talk about hearing, because most of us usually confuse what is actually the difference between listening and hearing. So here we go. We'll discuss about that. So hearing is the primary psychological system that allows for reception or and also conversion of sound waves. This is the definition of hearing. It's a bit similar with listening actually. So the question is, what is the difference between hearing and listening? So here we go. The terms hearing and listening are often used interchangeably in everyday talk. There are essential differences between them. While both hearing and listening are initiated through sound perceptions, so both of them deal with sound perceptions, the difference between them is essentially in the degree of intentions. So the keyword here that we have to emphasize is intentions, because the difference between hearing and listening is there in the word of intention. So what is intention? Intention is known to involve several levels, but initially intention is an acknowledgement of a distal source and a willingness to be influenced by this source. Okay, I will explain it in more detail. Again, we have to be very careful because hearing and listen have different meanings. Hear and listen are common verbs that we often hear, even those two words have the same meaning in Indonesian language. So they have the same meaning in Indonesian language. That's why we usually have problems to differentiate them. The meaning in Indonesia is mendengarkan, right? So it's the same. But in English, the two words have different ways of using and have different meanings. It certainly seems similar, but make no mistake, you must know when you can use the word hear or listen, okay? Please do not make any mistake when you use the word hear and listen. Okay, let's talk about let's differentiate both terms from the perspective of meaning. Hear means a sound or noise comes into your ear without you making an effort. See, without making any effort. When it is seen from the meaning, the word hear is used when we hear voice unintentionally. Remember, unintentionally. Or there are sounds that enter our ears without us trying to listen. So when we hear, it means we have no intentions to listen. But the sounds just enter our ear and we listen it. But we have no intentions before. For example, the sentence is like this. I heard the dog barking out loud. It means we had no intention before to listen the dog barking. But suddenly the dog barked and then the sounds enter our ear and we listen it. We had no intention before to intentionally listen the dog barking. So that's hearing. Meanwhile, listen means when you pay attention and try to listen to sound. So that's the opposite of hearing. Listen means we are trying to hear someone else's voices or conversation, or as a verb to tell someone to listen. We also use the word listen when we really pay attention to the sound we hear. So when we have intention and we really want to listen that sound, we can call it as listening process. For example, the sentence is I'm listening to a wonderful song. It means we had intention before to listen a song. So that's why we say it, listen to a music, not hearing a music. Because when we say I'm hearing a music, it means we had no intention to listen to the music, but suddenly the music plays and then the sounds enter our ears and we can listen it. So hopefully it's clear the difference between listen and hearing. Always remember that we have to understand the meaning first, so you can easily distinguish when to use hear and listen. Let's continue. So everyone, there are two aspects that we have to consider when we talk about listening. The first one is consciousness and the second one is attentions. These aspects are the elements that can support the process of listening. Let's talk both of them one by one. The first one is consciousness. What we mean about consciousness is the root concept for describing the process that initiate attention, meaning construction, memory, and learning. So, my friends, everyone, the concept of consciousness is very, very important for communications, both listening and speaking, because something must direct the individual's attention to the external world. For example, for the speaker, consciousness influences what aspects of the person experience to communicate, the signaling, and also the displaying levels of communications. So that's for the speaker. And the concept of consciousness also, it's very important for the listener because it guides the person's intentions to experience the speaker's word and to attempt to construct meaning from this experience. Meanwhile, attentions is something more specific. So based on what I understand, response is actually the aspect inside the consciousness. So consciousness is the big umbrella, and inside that big umbrella there is smaller umbrella, and it's attention. So what is attention? Attention has identifiable physical correlates, namely specific to a particular source or aspect of input areas of the brain that are activated in response to a decision to attend to a particular source or aspect of input. Okay, so inside attentions, there are two notions that are central to understand how attention influences listening. Ada istilah namanya limited capacity, ada juga selective attention. The notion of limited capacity is important in listening. Our consciousness can interact with only one source of information at a time. Although we can readily and rapidly switch back and forth between different sources and even bundle disparate source into a single focus of attention. So, konsep limited capacity meyakini bahwa when we listen, kita itu hanya bisa fokus only on one single source of information dalam satu waktu. And then the next thing is the term is selective attention. Whenever multiple sources or streams of information are present, selective attention must be used. Selective attention involves a decision, a commitment of our limited capacity process to one stream of information or one bundle set of features. Jadi kemampuan listening kita juga bisa sebenarnya fokus kepada beberapa informasi dalam satu waktu yang bersamaan, tapi kita biasanya menyeleksi which one we have to listen more and which one we have to a bit ignore, something like that. Hopefully it's clear. Okay, so that's the two elements that we have to consider when we talk about listening process, consciousness and attention. Well, sebenarnya ada lagi materi tentang individual differences in neurological processes. So, individual are different in terms of neurological process, and the difference are in the aspect of local processing, commitment and plasticity, integrative circuits, functional neural circuits. So these are the difference, but I will talk about this later in the other video because the video is too long, I believe. Okay, that's it. If you have any question, just write down on comment. Thank you very much, everyone, for listening. Hopefully, you are really listening to my presentations. And that's all from me. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.